Welcome to episode 2 of the Men of Iron podcast. My name is Steve Glick. I am your host today. Today's podcast is brought to you by Castle Signs, serving Lancaster County for over 70 years, the highest quality design, fleet graphics, and vehicle wraps. So go to castleteam.com for all your design needs. I'd like to introduce to my right, Garret Barbush. Garrett's in the house.
Hola.
What's going on, Garret?
Not much, man. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here. And to our straight ahead is Paul Leininger, our special guest today. What's going on, Paul?
Everything. It's quite cold. It was spring about 2 days ago, but now it's winter again, so I'm reminded of that.
That's why he's got his hoodie on.
And a man beard.
And a man beard.
That's right. And never give up.
He
Never give up.
He just grew that man beard yesterday.
Is that right?
Yeah.
One day
I just squeezed my nose and it just
pops out. That's Lancaster County roots right
yeah,
there.
That's right. Yes.
Well, we're happy to have Paul. Today's podcast, we're going to be talking about mentorship and how to sustain that mentorship through that kind of, we talk about that 6-month law.
Right.
So that's going to be our focus. The purpose of our podcast, we want to provide you, the viewer, with value, to provide discussion, insight, advice on mentoring, leadership, business, marriage, fatherhood, and so much more. And I think have a little fun along the way, too.
Amen.
So I think since Paul's our special guest today, we'll do a little take 5 for Paul and ask him some fun questions. What do you think about that?
I love it. This is the perfect time of year to ask Paul some questions.
Maybe I don't know these questions, so hopefully I have answers.
That's what's even better.
That's what's even better. We're going to totally throw you for a loop, Paul.
Gee, I got a few questions here. You can use them or you can come up with some fun ones. So I'm going to start with number 1. Paul, favorite 90s jam?
Favorite 90s jam?
Yeah, 90s jam. Or you know what? Paul's probably you were a child of the what? The 80s?
Late 60s.
Late 60s.
So
your era of music, though, was...
I was more of a hair band guy, you know, but I would say my favorite 80s jam.
All right.
80s, I'll go with 80s.
Was Journey.
Journey, okay.
Separate
Don't
Ways.
Stop Believing.
Yes.
What he said, which one?
Separate Ways.
Separate Ways.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
That's a Philadelphia band there, too. I'd like to just point that out.
What's that?
Are they from Philly for real?
Journey, yeah.
No, Journey's from San Francisco. Yeah. There's
Steve's
other
just
bands.
making things up here. They're from Philadelphia. Steve, not everybody is from Philadelphia.
Somebody's going to Google that and go, he's wrong.
I was going to say, there's no way Philly
All right,
Journey
man.
is from
I
Philly.
had that in my head. Anyway, moving on.
They've been
Moving
to
along.
Philly. They've been to Philly. Yes.
All right, I got a good one for you, Paul. If you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
Oh, my goodness.
Just say eagle.
No, I won't. I would say a lion. You know why? Because they have a beard.
Oh, there you go.
A mane.
good.
A mane.
Yes.
That's good.
And when the wind blows, it just, my mane blows in it. It's just amazing.
That's how Connie picked you up, isn't it? She saw your beard blowing in the wind.
No, when we met, I had a close crop beard.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
this is the man beard.
Oh, I can't wait for this next one. I just saw this now.
That's a good
I'm
one.
not sure if I
That's a-
can.
That's a good one here. Better looking, Tom Brady or Garret Barbush?
Really?
Wait, there's a different height thing here.
Easy, Paul. Easy.
I would say Garrett.
There you go.
Yeah, the hair. It's the hair.
Yeah. Hey.
I like it.
It's the hair.
Yeah.
I like it.
Tom has
And the
nothing
face.
on this.
And the shirt. And
Everyone,
stopping.
welcome Lex to the podcast from Walk in Love.
I'm just glad you didn't say the two of you, between the two of you.
Ooh,
Then I
yeah,
would have been.
Yeah, we won't go there.
Well, we know who that is. Let's just be honest.
All right, so what was Paul like in high school? Question number 4.
I was a loner. I was bullied and quiet.
Wow.
The exact opposite of what I am now. Yeah.
How about that? I want to know more about that sometime, Paul.
That's going to be
Not now.
episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3.
We'll have a session later. I'll sit on the couch and you can write notes.
All right, final question for take 5 is what inspires you?
What inspires me? Actually, if anything, I'm not picking one son over the other, but my youngest son, Max, inspires me greatly. He's a fighter. He loves to overcome
Awesome.
anything. if he doesn't know something, he finds it out. And if he wants to be better at something, he tries it out. And if he wants to be funnier than me, he tries. So that inspires me too. But yeah, just watching him inspires me because he also knows where my walk was. And one day he said to me, he said, "Dad, I knew where you were, but I know where you are now." And that inspires me each day. Awesome. Seeing that and hearing that in his life. He's an amazing kid. But my other kids they inspire me too. But that's the first thing that came to my mind. So
that's cool. Awesome. Well, that was our take 5 with Paul. I think that was pretty good.
I liked it, Paul.
I was okay. I'm glad that's what
good
they
on
were.
the spot. That was pretty good, man. I got to give credit to you. That was pretty darn good.
Well, before we get into the main topic of our podcast, we got to talk a little Super Bowl 52 because we got a Pats fan over here, and of course I'm an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Garrett, we won't talk about where his allegiance stands.
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
So, Paul, what's your thoughts for Super Bowl 52?
Well, I do look at the Pats as more of like, it's kind of a Christian analogy because they're like the prodigal sons. They have 5 rings. So apparently they went out and came back 5 times and they still don't get it. So, but no.
Well, if that's the analogy, the Eagles have been gone for a long time.
That's right. But they don't lose faith. They mount up as wings, on wings as eagles. So they have faith in that. But I think it's going to be the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to win. I want the Eagles to win.
Wow.
I do, because I know the last time that they met in the Super Bowl was just a three-point difference. But there was also some cheating involved.
Okay.
Patriots are famous for that.
Yeah.
Well, we know that.
But I also looked at the Patriots as leaders. They told everybody, well, you can't do it that way. You can't cheat that way, so don't follow us. No, just kidding. That's bad. No, I really believe the Eagles are going to do that. They should, because they are a better team, I believe, this year.
Gee, any insight?
I'm a Steelers fan at heart, and I know there's like this whole thing like, oh, if you're a Steelers fan, you can't like the Eagles, and if you're an Eagles fan, you hate the Steelers, and I've never felt that, to be honest with you. Maybe it's because Steelers have a lot of Super Bowls and Eagles don't have any, but
6 rings, they keep coming back.
Yeah, but I think, in all honesty, I actually want to see Philadelphia win. I think Philadelphia's fans deserve it. They're some of the most passionate fans. And I'm not saying I always agree with how they express.
Is that what you call it?
Not sure I agree with how they express their passion, but overall, I think it'd be good for the people. Maybe they'll become less angry if they win.
Yeah, I don't know.
A championship.
I hope so.
You guys are angry elves, man.
It might intensify their personalities.
They like to say Negadelphians.
Negadelphians. That's really good. Yeah. I don't know if they're just mad because they just got left with the Liberty Bell, and that was about,
It's the crack in the Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
Still ticked about that.
I thought you meant the actual crack like the drug crack, but obviously you meant the crack in the Liberty Bell.
Yeah,
okay,
the crack in the Liberty Bell. Yeah,
got it.
All right,
So, what's your thoughts, Steve? I mean, we know you're a Philly fan. Steve, by the way, is one of the biggest Philadelphia fans I know personally. Sunday season ticket holder for the Phillies. Love the Eagles. Love the Sixers. One of the best videos of Steve was it Villanova?
Oh yeah, when Villanova won.
When they won
2 years ago.
2 years ago, but I think it was when they won in the Final Four.
Final Four, yeah.
And Steve, there's a video that his wife took of him jumping up and down on the couch. It's pretty good. Maybe we might have to incorporate that into this podcast.
There we go.
Know.
Yeah, we'll show the clip.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping I can do the same thing, and next week for Super Bowl 52.
Will you cry?
I've only cried a few times in my life. On my wedding day, when my daughter was born. I don't know.
I hope, For Steve's sake, I hope the Eagles win so that we can see him cry for the 3rd time in his life.
I'll make sure Ashley gets his own video if it happens. Yeah. All right, G, you want to take us into kind of our main topic?
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Two?
So, the whole point of episode 2 is to really kind of hone in and narrow in on this idea of how do you keep a mentorship focused? How do you keep a mentorship, focused and sustainable? And I think it's very clear, it's very common that, any sort of mentorship, whether that's through Men of Iron Strong 27 ministry, whether it's in business mentorships that, maybe some businesses try to get off the ground and running, there is that lull that hits. And the lull typically happens in about 3-4 months. Both mentor and protege are driving to the meeting and are thinking, is anything getting accomplished? Am I getting through to this guy? Why did I sign up for this? I know in my previous career, our business tried to get a mentorship program kind of launched in the sales department where, a more seasoned guy would get, and it fell apart. And really, we look at that and we see that happening across churches. Is there's this idea of discipleship and mentorship that is really good, and churches think they're really, really good at it. And I don't mean any disrespect to the church. Please understand that, folks. But we have found as a ministry and as an organization, the churches really are not good at this one-on-one idea of somebody coming alongside of somebody else and mentoring them. The idea is good and it gets everybody excited, but it just falls apart. So let's talk about, I wanted to give some practical tips to all of our listeners, whether you're involved in Men of Iron or not, in the Strong 27 ministry. How do you keep a mentorship focused? How do you keep it exciting and, intentional and all those good things? So point number one, and we'll talk about this, is to establish some incentives. Establish some incentives between mentor and protege. And just a very brief kind of example would be if a protege has a goal and the mentor says, hey, that's a great goal. All right, if we can get that accomplished, if you can get that accomplished in the next 90 days, I will buy you a steak dinner. Like giving the protege an incentive to stay focused, but to keep things fun, to keep things exciting. And I know that seems maybe trivial, like, oh, a steak dinner, what's that have to do with spiritual growth, right? Well, it is something. Guys like to be incentivized. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? But I've found that that's something that works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, there's also a different way to look at incentives, because we have one set of protege and mentor that the mentor says, no agenda, no meeting. But that speaks to that protege because he loves the meetings. He does not want to go without the meetings.
Right.
So that's more of a that's not tactile or anything, but that's more like if you want to grow, you need to do this, or I won't meet with you.
Right.
That doesn't work with everybody, but also I've heard other guys say that we get through this certain point. I would like to take your wife and you out to dinner, even your kids, because they play a pivotal role in that. And then there's obviously with our church, and also with the church, we like to break bread anyway, So guys usually meet where you eat. So that's actually an incentive to get together. You're not just getting together to talk. You're actually getting together and enjoying coffee together, meals together. I just thought the other day it would be good to actually reward, if there was a way for us to track where these guys are as directors. When you get to this level, you all get this, or you all get this. But one of the biggest incentives that we have, and every one of them has graduation. We do a graduation dinner with all of the proteges and their families and their closest friends, and celebrate them that way. A really good dinner, catered dinner, and then we also give them a gift at the end besides their certificate of what they've done, but also a gift to go along with that, so they can memorialize that as they go.
That's great.
Go forward.
Yeah.
I think with anything you're doing in life, you kind of want to see something at the end that you can strive for.
Right.
Obviously there's more to it in a mentorship than a steak dinner at the end. But I think it's a great way to encourage protege and keep the thing moving forward.
Right. And I don't want to beat this, like a dead horse over here, but I think I back to just somebody, and I wasn't even like this guy's mentor, but I was inspired by some of this guy's goals that he had for the year. And I was like, man, how do I keep this guy focused on this? Because if he just tries to go at this alone, like he's going to fail. Like it's not going to work out. And so, incentivized him with like, hey, if you get this done, and if you can accomplish this, what I'll do is, my wife and I offered to take him and allow him to go down to Florida. We were going to buy an airline ticket for him to meet with the guy that really encouraged him to set this goal, and we would pay for a steak dinner for those two.
Oh, that's
and like
that's awesome.
That was, and that's not to toot our own horn, but that is something that guy could look forward to, and I hope he accomplishes his goal because I want to be able to do that for him. But it's just it ups the ante a little bit, like it really puts not that your spiritual growth isn't important, but it does put some some weight to things, I think. So
right. And when you talk about spiritual growth, I think growth should be the incentive.
Right.
You know, like a protege signing up to be a mentor, he should have that desire to want to grow.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
just, not just spiritually, but as a father, as a leader.
Right. And that's point number 2 is to keep a mentorship focused at, we know this in Strong 27 mentorship ministry is spiritual growth. Like it's got to be the key component. How do you spiritually want to grow? And the way that I desire to spiritually grow in a year might be different from Steve. Our needs and wants may be different, but the bottom line is that spiritual growth needs to be that component.
Right.
And we see spiritual growth kind of being developed in God's word, prayer, and solitude. That's really where there's all kinds of things. There's tithing, there's fasting, there's all kinds of things that you can do to grow spiritually,
Right.
but keeping that as the center focal point, for the mentorship is focus. It should be somewhere that you're constantly going back to every meeting.
Yep.
It should be something that you're working on between every meeting is doing X, Y, Z for my spiritual growth.
Right.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that spoke to our proteges and mentors, especially when we launched in March, is that word solitude. And there is nothing, and I mean nothing, like getting alone with God, taking the time away. And a lot of guys say they don't have time. Well, you have time for other stuff. The most important thing you need to have is time alone with God. And we've seen the changes in guys. And I've heard guys saying, I need to get away. And I had to do that this past year. I actually had to just stop and go away for 3 or 4 days, not away from home, but just doing nothing. And that's been a fruit that has been coming forth for these guys when they realize how much time they need. Because then you start there, everything else grows.
Right.
Because you're starting with the Father.
That's good.
It's been amazing.
It's a good word. And for those of you that don't know, Paul we didn't even ask you, on staff
Yeah, it's okay.
with Petra Church. And
We don't care what he does.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
New Holland, Pennsylvania. But Petra is a partner church of Men of Iron, and Paul is responsible there for directing the Strong 27 ministry and does a great job.
Yeah.
So thanks to Paul.
And I have
there.
a great team.
Yes.
Great team. Yep.
Great team of people. You're right.
Yeah.
Third point that we have down here on the agenda to talk about today on how to keep a mentorship focused is to narrow down the time frame on which your goals and objectives are kind of set for. So, one of the things when we first started the ministry was like, hey, what are your goals for the year? What do you want to get done? And really, you see the statistics, Steve, on like New Year's resolutions and how they fail within the first couple of
fizzles
weeks.
out.
And,
Yeah.
So what we're saying now is, hey, what do you want to get done in the first 90 days, the second 90 days, third 90 days? Like, break it down,
Yep.
So I don't know. I know that's something that we focus on as an organization, in our roles, and in our career. But I don't know if you want to add to that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it just sharpens the focus. I mean, it's hard to look a year out and be like, I want to do this and do that, because, like you said, that stuff fizzles out. But I think making it that 90-day objective really gives that laser focus to the mentorship.
Well, and I've just said too, like it's really hard to look at a goal, for example, and say that's what I want to do by the end of the year, and then to continuously follow up on that every single meeting. That's where the lull's going to hit, because it's going to get boring, it's going to get old. So to keep things fresh, it's okay. What do I want to do done in this 90 days? Now, if that's what you need to keep doing, then you can put that in your second 90 days again. But the bottom line is shorten the focus a little bit.
Yeah. I've heard somebody say recently, and I forget the source, so I apologize, is that, you have a goal for the year, but there's many steps to that goal. So breaking it down to 90 days, say, okay, this goal's at the end, but what are you going to do to get closer to that? You have to do these 3 things, or this one thing, and then the next one. Then that way you're taking the steps to it, as opposed to jumping stairs and saying I accomplished it, but you actually missed a lot of points in between. And checking off is one thing, but actually doing it right is the best thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, Steve, I know you're going to talk a little bit more about this one too, but how to keep things focused and really narrowed in on this idea of sustainability within a mentorship. Like stay committed no matter what. Stay committed to your meetings regardless of what's going on in life. Everyone's busy. Okay, that's not an excuse. Everyone's busy, but I think, Paul, you said it, like we all make time for things that are important to us. Yep. So, I use this analogy all the time. Like, I'm married, I've got a job, I've got 2 kids, leader in the community, whatever you want to call it. But bottom line is I like to play golf. And so it doesn't matter how busy I am, I find time to play golf because I like to do it. So there's TJ Musidis, CEO, founder, owner, Walk in Love.
Humble host.
I am actually headed to my mentorship meeting right now.
Look at that.
And I just had a baby last week.
Talk about commitment.
And I haven't been feeling well, but it matters. And so I'm going to do it.
Love
so
it.
I legit
Love
did
it.
not plan this, but
Amen.
amen.
Amen. Amen. See ya.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Right?
Walk in love.
Thanks,
Walk in
TJ. But that's it. There you go. There's a prime example. He did not plan that. Okay, TJ literally just had a baby last week. Not feeling, and he was sick. He was like legit sick.
His wife had a baby.
Well, his wife had a baby. Yes, Brooke.
They had a baby
point.
together.
Yes. Women are a lot tougher than men. That's just all there is to it.
No question.
But anyway, stay committed. And I think about examples. I know, Stevie, you have an example, but we, just a couple years ago, this was early on when we started as an organization, as a ministry. There were two guys, Tom Mason and Randy Hershey, mentor and protege, and they met every other Friday at something crazy like 4:30 or 5 a.m. And they did that all year long, and it was to the point that they didn't even have it on their calendars because it just became expected that they were going to meet. That was what they did. They stayed committed no matter what because that's what worked with their schedule. Right. So I know you have an example
Yeah, it
as
was
well.
the same thing with me and Lou Zoller, my mentor. It was every other Thursday, 5:30 a.m. at the McDonald's, and we knew we were going to be there. You know, it wasn't like he's sending me a text making sure I'm there. We were just there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the same way with my protege and I. It's every other Tuesday. It's either Starbucks or, well, I won't name names, but it's either a coffee place or a coffee place.
Yeah.
And it's on the calendar, and it's consistent. As far as also consistency, I think it boils down to the directors too, is staying connected with the mentors and proteges and giving them the encouragement that they need, and doing that on a consistent basis as well, because they need that. They need encouragement. They also need to know that, wow, that's a new thought I needed to apply. You know, so yeah, it's been amazing.
The last piece I want to make, and then the last point I want to make, and then I want to get into kind of a final piece to wrap up the podcast. But is get your families involved. You know, get to know the wives. You know, introduce your wives, mentor and protege. Introduce your kids to each other. Have each other over for dinner, lunch, whatever it is. Like include the families, because when you include the families, again, that's a bigger incentive to stay committed to the process, right? But the goal should be in a mentorship to build friendships.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
really what you're looking to do. And if Steve, if you're mentoring me and we can introduce our wives and they can hit it off, right? And our daughters can then get together, and it
awesome.
just makes it that much more effective. It starts to flow from man to family to community to church to changing the culture.
Right.
That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, it's more than just meeting every other week. It's you're doing life together. Like, you guys are pouring into each other and being honest and open and vulnerable. And I think that, bringing the families together is just a natural next step.
Right. And I want, Paul, I want you to chime in here on this last point. It's, you know, this whole idea of keeping mentorships focused. The bottom line is this, you know, we actually face as a ministry probably more struggles with keeping the ministry alive and active at a church and energized, you know, than we do. We have to work really hard at that as a ministry. Like, how do we, and I've mulled over this for years. It's like, man, why is this so hard? Why is this idea of mentorship, discipleship, like, why is it so hard? And I've basically, instead of trying to figure it out, I've just basically come to this realization, and I'm set on this, is like, it's hard. It is really hard.
Right.
It does not come naturally. It goes against everything our culture says with ease and comfort. Like, you can't hide in a mentorship. And it's not, I think sometimes we don't want to make it a priority because it's like, wow, I could just sleep in, or I could be with my family, or I could be staying at work longer and making more, whatever it is. Mentoring and discipling is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's why you need to really look at ways to implement ways and implement things to keep the mentorship focus. It's difficult. It's hard. It's just the bottom line.
Yep.
And so if churches think they're going to launch this thing and it's going to be easy, they're wrong. I don't know. You guys chime in. I'm talking too much. I'm all passionate and pumped up over here.
Well, I think the biggest thing, which is what we found over the years, is that, first you have to get it launched, okay? But then being able to put in the front examples, the proteges that went through it, the mentors that went through it, give them a voice in the church, saying, "Look what it's done in our lives. Look at the opportunities that I have now taken in my life because of that." One of the biggest things I find with men is that they're only open to a certain point. And you mentioned that. They're only open to a certain point. And the trust factor. And men are not emotional. They just do. And I wouldn't say they don't have emotions. They just don't tend to put them out, or they're very surface. And when you start digging deep, it's like you forgot to call PA1. You just hit the power line and it just shuts everything off. Right. What I've enjoyed so much about the Men of Iron Strong 27 program is that it's strategic. Men like strategy. So those and every point that you put in your book about power, about anger, about these are bullet points. These are main topics that men struggle with. It's not hearsay conversations where you can have mentor. You show up, you have coffee, how's the kids, and all that, and you talk about football. Like we just did, but it's deeper than that, and that's what Strong 27 has been doing, and that's why it's made a difference in our church. It's made a difference in all these other churches, and especially in your community model.
Right.
It has a place to go.
Right. That's right.
And to go further. It's not just the 12-month commitment; it changes the life there forward.
Amen.
That's awesome.
Amen. Well, guys, thanks for coming on today, Paul, for coming in, and Steve for putting the agenda together and working all the technical side of things. So just some final thoughts and some things coming up that you guys listeners and viewers can be on the lookout for. We've got some launches of the ministry coming up in February in Ohio, March in Lancaster and Florida, and then April in New Jersey. And so we'll be hitting a lot of men here coming up in the first quarter. Final thoughts, if you're listening, you're watching, you can check out our podcast on iTunes, menofiron.org/MOI podcast. We'll take you there to subscribe. And we would love feedback from our listeners.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're out there and you're listening to this or you're watching, you can get in touch with us on social media or email us at info@menofiron.org. Let us know some topics you want us to talk about, maybe guests on the podcast like manly men like Paul, and all that good stuff.
But we can top Paul.
I don't know. We can't top the beard, that's for sure.
Oh, there's bigger beards. There's bigger beards.
Bottom line is, man, we appreciate everyone's support, whether you're involved in the ministry or whether you're a financial contributor, whether you're a prayer warrior for us, whatever it might be, man, we're grateful for it. Definitely. And Stevie, I want to thank our sponsor one last time.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Castle Signs, our sponsor for today's podcast, episode 2. Like I said, they've been serving Lancaster County for over 70 years. Go to castleteam.com. All right. That's it.
All right, guys.
Thank you to Walk in Love for the studio.
Yeah,
time.
Walk in Love. Thank you guys for the studio time. God bless you. We'll see you guys, episode 3 coming up next month.
Yeah.
Blessings, honor, glory, and power.
Adios.